item, which is Resolution 2018-41.
Mr. Reed, before you proceed with that question, the resolution, I got a question, a procedural question for you, in reference to this, and it deals with conflict of interest, which I believe involves Commissioner Edmondson by him serving as vice chair of this board and the chairman of the Development Authority Board, where you're taking one department underneath this board's purview and move it under the Development Authority's purview, which he chairs, and he also runs a financial services business where I believe he has a pecuniary interest because he's a registered investment advisor as well.
Of course.
So does a conflict of interest exist to the point where he needs to recuse himself from this vote?
Let me take it the first part, which is sitting as Development Authority.
Let me just preface this by saying I don't know what he plans on doing, but I'm just asking the question up front, whether he's planning on recusing himself or not.
All right. So let me out, because it sounds like there's two issues. The first one is he recused? Has to recuse himself by virtue of sitting on the Development Authority, and there's nothing that prohibits, because he's not voting as a member of the Development Authority, he's voting as a member of the Board of Commissioners. That's what conflict of interest means, that you have one person, you're holding one position which is diametrically opposed to another position, and that's where you can't represent both sides fairly. That's what the conflict comes in. Now, that doesn't mean, and that's different from just having an interest. It's where you have a conflict of those two interests is where there's the issue. Now, as it relates to the second issue, as to his day job, I don't know enough about what he does to know whether that would conflict with his ability to vote as a member of the Board of Commissioners on that issue.
But his ability to move or be part of a vote to move Economic Development Department into a Development Authority purview, I believe goes directly to that interest.
So conflicting with something, official position that the county has taken. I don't think there's enough.
But the pecuniary interest, which deals with money, then if he's a financial investor, agent, so a registered investment advisor, and he's moving a department to the economic development where they bring contracts and deals in, where they tell people, in his business, he tells people how to make money, where to make money, where they invest their money. Now, this department, I already have a problem from being on the board itself, but now he's in a position, not saying that he would, to profit from that arrangement.
Mr. Chair, if I may add, I got two simple things. The first thing is Webster's Dictionary of conflict of interest is a conflict between the private interest and the official responsibilities of a person in a position of trust. That's simple as that. The second one that I have is based upon the Business Dictionary. It says a situation that has the potential to undermine the impartiality of a person because of the possibility of a clash between the person's self-interest, personal interest, or public interest. And two has even another more broader definition. Situation in which a party's responsibility to a second party limits its ability to discharge its responsibility to a third party. Based on the second one alone, he's not able to discharge his position as a board member and also being on that board. And unfortunately, the state of Georgia doesn't see anything wrong with it. And I'm going to take it a little bit further. And thank God I went to all those classes and graduated from ACCG, because I did speak to the folks down there, and I've spoken to all the leading counties that have been making strides in the area of development, and all of them agree that a development authority was first established simply to make it to where it was not a political entity. I will quote Mr. Bob Shaw himself, who's like the Don Juan of the development authorities. He said, "I used to be the Republican Party chair, But when it comes to being on the Development Authority, I got two goals, and that is to bring business and create jobs. It is not a partisan deal. It has nothing to do with the board. What we've done is create a quasi-board of commissioners, which I'm going to take it a step further, which is most concerning as a business owner, because what we do is give them the rules of which to play by to bring the business back to the county. Well, now while I'm coming in and I got to deal with your board of commissioners person on it. So there are errors all the way around. And those at ACCG also, as I consulted with folks and just asked the question, everybody states that it's the worst decision that we could make. And once again, if the community of Clayton County is okay with this, I always say, you like it, I love it, because it's just wrong. I done read the right thing, but it's just wrong.
All right. Well, we're not going to prolong the meeting, but I do have some problems with that, and I will handle myself accordingly if it should pass. Go ahead and proceed on with the resolution.
All right, so I have one resolution, which is 2018-41, which is a resolution authorizing Clayton County to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Development Authority of Clayton County for the promotion of economic development in the county, to authorize the chairman to execute the agreement and to otherwise perform all acts necessary to accomplish the intent of the resolution, to authorize the chief financial officer to amend the budget where necessary to reflect appropriate revenue source and expense relating thereto, to provide an effective date of this resolution for other purposes. There's a draft from the Development Authority's lawyer,
Who is the attorney?
Michelle Youngblood.
Who does you?
Don't she work for Freeman Mathis?
She does.
Don't she work with y'all?
She works in our firm, yes, as I work for
And
Freeman
who else?
Mathis.
Who else drafted?
I helped draft some of it.
Okay, so this is an agreement between Clayton County, BOC, and Development Authority.
That's correct.
Who sat with y'all when you drafted it? Because I didn't get a call to be there for my input. So was there a reason why the chairman of the county was deliberately left out?
At any time, any member who has anything that they would like to add to any item on the agenda, we are more than willing to sit with any commissioner to add any input on any agenda item at any time. If there's something that the chairman would like, if you would like to add or make any changes, I'll certainly add that into the agreement.
And I agree with that, and I agree wholeheartedly. But something of this nature, when you're taking a department and placing it under the purview of another agency or authority, it never crossed anybody's mind to say, hey, Chairman, what do you think about this? Or get my 2 cents worth. What board member asked you to do this?
Mr. Chairman, I asked him to do this. I asked Michelle Youngblood, and I took a card from your playbook of bring it to the board, put it to the board, vote it up or down. That's what you've told me 100 times,
Absolutely.
and that's what I'm
So
doing.
at any
And that's
point-
what I'm doing.
At any point, did you think to involve the chairman? Any point did you think to involve the chairman? Any point did you think to involve the chairman?
Yes, sir. In your role as the chairman of this board, I'm bringing it to you for your consideration right now.
At
Oh,
this
wow.
time, right? That's definitely within your purview. to do
I
this.
just have one more question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Back during the last budgetary cycle, we need to understand what was the vote to allow for Mr. Hancock's firm to come into the county. Who led that vote? It was a 3-2 vote to change to, yes, it was, to allow
I just don't know the answer to
for,
that question.
to allow for that firm to come into the county, because I voted against all of it because of that mainly. And that vote was led by a certain commissioner. So it goes back to a conflict of interest. So regardless of the code, and I know the state code does stand, but the bottom line is it also it does state that a conflict of interest, we must recuse ourselves. So the commissioner just stated he acted on behalf of the board because there was no board member available. There was no board member brought present. I don't know about a meeting that you all had to draft an IGA. I was not brought into it. So unless there were sidebar conversations that were a violation of sunshine laws, then this board was not involved, because he can't wear 2 hats because you just said it. You said it earlier, because of the definition of conflict of interest, he can act in that role and then come back and act in this role. But he just stated he acted in the role of this board unless the board wasn't there at all. Who was he at the time?
Any commissioner at any time on any agenda item can come to, because we are your lawyers, at any time If you ever have anything that comes on any agenda, you can come and say, I want to input my issue on this particular issue.
That's what our bylaws say, right? And it
Hold on a
goes
second,
through
hold on a
legal
second.
to the clerk.
And at any
Hold on a second.
time,
But hold on a second, but what you're also saying is because all of y'all are all of our attorneys, he can take his hat off any time and say, I'm a commissioner this minute, DAA chairman the next minute.
And more
So that's
than-
a conflict in itself.
And then we got to have ESP to know when you drafted it, because I didn't receive an invite.
Mr. Chairman, who called the question on this, please? Take a vote. Thank you.
That was quite rude.
Yes, and we knew it was coming, but nonetheless. All right, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
3-2, it passes.